the New England Patriots lets their head coach run over the GM like this.
Oh, no question. And I mean,
and at least Belichick is better about it.
That's what I was going to go with, because Belichick has a way of actually producing the results that he's looking for. Now, the thing about the Patriots that's totally different from the Saints is that normally when you see the Patriots get rid of a guy, it's for one or two reasons. Either he was a total complete clown in the locker room, or they cut him right before it was his time to start declining. For some strange reason, it seems like Bill Belichick knows just when to get rid of a guy. He's proven it time after time when it comes to guys like Willie McGinnis and Mike Vrabel and Teddy Bruschi and, countless others. He gets rid of them right before they hit that wall and they can't perform like they used to. The problem with the Saints, they're cutting guys that are in their prime or before their prime. When you get rid of a Jimmy Graham, mind you, I love the trade of Jimmy Graham. You got Max Unger, and you got a 31st pick in which you turned it to Stephon Anthony, who was great in his rookie year. But you still got two guys out of that. You got a center for the future, and we all know when the Saints were at their best, the offensive interior is what drove them. They had Jonathan Goodwin, they had Carl Nicks, they had Jari Evans. That is how the Saints were built. They were built inside out, and it was magic for them. Hopefully they can return to that, because now you have Max Unger. Maybe if Andres Pete catches along and you possibly get yourself a guard in free agency next year, or maybe you draft a good one, whatever have you. They're going to build from the inside out, which is great. However, the problem that I'm seeing is that the Saints just seem to be, they hold on to guys not long enough. The best example would be C.J. Spiller. You just signed him last season. You gave him $9 million guaranteed, and then you let him go. And now all of a sudden everybody else is scratching their heads, and the Saints are like, hey, don't worry, be happy. We got a plan. Well, what's the plan, Coach? Let me see, because nobody knows but you. It's almost like, I hate to bring a political realm into it. Just for the record, I don't like any of the candidates, so I'm just making fun of all of them at this point. Donald Trump just happens to be the target this time. But it's almost like Donald Trump, because Donald Trump keeps telling me, I got a plan. Just believe me. The problem is, Donald, you're not telling me what that plan is. And I'm not one of these people who's like, I'm not going to vote for Trump. I just want to know what he's going to do. And I don't know just yet. I feel the same way when it comes to the New Orleans Saints. It's not that I hate the Saints. I love them dearly. I grew up a Saints fan. I am a Saints fan. I just try to put my third eye on and look at them unbiasedly. The problem is that I don't see a plan in place. If there's a blueprint, it's one of the most well-hidden blueprints ever. I mean, this thing is Fort Knox certified when it comes to security on this blueprint.
Let me just go ahead and add this too, because what I'm about to say is almost going to sound like I'm contradicting you, but I promise I'm not trying to. You talked about Belichick being able to just kind of spot when those guys are declining. I think the Saints, while they don't keep some people long enough, they also keep some people too long. And then they overpay them. Perfect example is Keenan Lewis.
Oh, yes.
An injury kind of guy, and we're going to pay him that much of an extension. Now, let me add this. I like Keenan Lewis. I like that kind of vocality he has, someone who's going to speak up and be a leader. And while some of them argue he didn't do that enough, that's all behind us anyway. But he's not the only one that we've done that to. Why are we spending so much money on people that we have to get rid of who are past their prime? We had to eat what? Let's see, Lewis isn't the only one, but we've had to eat several million, including Jari Evans. We're actually still paying Jari Evans' old contract. I think a lot of people forget that when we paid him the minimum over here. But it's only because he was a declining guard at like 29. He was Pro Bowl level, but he was on the decline. And then we had the two highest paid guards in the NFL who were in their 30s on the decline. So it's not just something where we're getting rid of guys too soon. We can't find the happy medium that obviously Bill Belichick has found long ago. We're either signing old guys who are falling down in their career or paying these young guys to come in that don't fit the system, and then we get rid of them before they can actually see if they fit in the system, and we're stuck with all this dead money paying all these people who don't play for the New Orleans Saints.
In my opinion, a part of it is just plain and simple blind loyalty. Sean Payton has his guys, if you will. Jari Evans was one of those guys. Drew Brees is one of those guys. Zach Streif is one of those guys. And for whatever reason, Sean finds it extremely hard to get rid of his guys. And I understand you want to salute them and reward them and be loyal to them for what they've done for you. The reason why Sean Payton has a $9 million contract right now is because of the backs and the labor of Jari Evans and Zach Streets and Thomas Morstead and guys like that. And especially when you look at the guys like Streif and Evans who came in 2006 and helped build the foundation. But you've also been loyal to guys who weren't a part of that because they fit that same type of player. And
yeah.
I can't understand it simply because you're cutting guys and letting them go who I guess they haven't built up that rapport. I'm not saying Kenny Stills was absolutely phenomenal. I'm just saying when you draft a guy, he's young, he's cheap, and he's being productive, how do you get rid of a guy like that? And then you bring back Dannell Ellerbe. When he's healthy, is a difference maker. That win is in the biggest set of capital letters you will ever find because Dannell Ellerbe is never healthy.
Yeah.
So you basically got rid of proven production for a veteran who is injury prone, and it's not equaling out. Something is wrong with this picture, and it goes back to scouting and talent evaluation. Sean Payton's eyes have gotten old. And if they haven't gotten old, they've become colorblind, if you will, because they're seeing what they want to see. I understand the Saints don't have the same amount of talent evaluators as other teams, but if you're not going to have the same amount, you better have some real good ones.
Yeah, I'll say this. I like the Ellerbe pickup if he can be healthy. That's a question mark in and of itself. Kenny Stills, here's my thing on the Saints receivers. For the most part, we're able to generally plug in a slot receiver and then be successful. Kenny Stills was that. Lance Moore was that. Willie Snead is definitely that. The main thing that we've needed, and the reason our receivers have had such a struggle lately, is because we had a split end receiver in Marcus Colston, the big guy, the seams guy, who was simply getting old. You know, and he can't help that. I mean, there's no time machines in the NFL. There's no cure-all. When you're a skill position player and you start hitting the 30 number, go ahead and get ready to retire. That's just how it is, with the exception of maybe one or two players a generation. Am I wrong? So
no, not at all. Because I want to interject really quickly. I think the reason why Colston stayed around so long, I really think Sean wanted to get him to the 10,000 career plateau mark. That's all I got on that one.
You know, and I don't mind that, because I'll also say this. Sean did try to find his successor. There was a failure in Nick Toon. There's been a failure in Brandon Coleman. We even drafted some bigger guys just going a few years back. What was his name? Adrian Arrington, wasn't that one of them?
Adrian Arrington, 7th round pick. You tried Robert Meacham to kind of help out for a while,
yep.
But nothing has worked.
We've tried the bigger guy to find that mold to fit in, and we just haven't. And I will say this. I would rather have gone with an aging Colston than a Nick Toon. Even if he is a younger guy and might be able to be a little bit faster in his routes, Colston was just much better all around in general. And it's only now that we've picked up a Mike Thomas. Because let me say this, Mike Thomas might not have had the best stats on the receiving score sheet, but he had probably the biggest impact of the receivers. Because now Brandon Cooks is not having to fight their best corner, or he's got more space to move because he's not double and triple team with zone coverage. Now the Saints have three guys who can spread the field, and we're back to the days where we actually spread the field. I mean, last year, where Brandon Cooks scores 98 yards, that's only like a 20-yard reception because there's a safety over the top ready to cover Brandon Cooks. But now they can't do that because somebody else is going to be open, whether it be out of the backfield, Kobe Fleener, who the jury's out on him, but the receiving core is now top level, top echelon. They are the cream of the crop right now, and that was why. We needed that split end to finally garner that top corner, that top safety, to actually bring the field into not just a half, but to spread it all the way out. And it's working beautifully. I mean, the receivers were just phenomenal against one of the better defenses in the AFC.
I thought Sean Payton was masterful. And before I get to that, I want to make sure I put this out there. When it comes to talent evaluation on offense, as you said, Sean Payton seems to be able to find a wide receiver that used to be a trash man and make him into one of the world's greatest receivers. I mean, it's amazing how he's able to do that with him and Drew Brees, and just find guys who everybody else would consider to be. Tommy Lee Lewis is a perfect example. I never thought Tommy Lee Lewis would make an NFL roster, and I really believe, especially now with C.J. Spiller being gone, I think Tommy Lee Lewis may get promoted and play a bit of a Darren Sproles type of C.J. Spiller type of offensive game plan, which he may be the one doing the smoke screens and the jet sweeps and stuff like that. So, let's see what happens this week against New York. But Sean Payton was masterful in his game plan as far as how he wanted to do it. Everyone knows at this point the Raiders have tried their hardest to re-up their secondary. And exactly what Sean wanted to do was test just how well they had adjusted. The first thing first was his idea to make sure whenever he wanted to, he matched up Brandon Cooks versus Sean Smith. Sean Smith was benched in that game for a while because he couldn't keep up with Brandon Cooks.
Yep.
There's a reason for it. Everyone wants to go to these bigger corners because of Richard Sherman and Darrell Reeves. And how the problem is there's a way to combat that. It's a guy like Brandon Cooks. The bigger corners, their hips don't shift well enough to keep up with those shifty, smaller receivers. If you can match up Brandon Cooks on Sean Smith, that's a win every time. And as you said, with Mike Thomas now being in the fold and all of the hype that came with him throughout the preseason, because it seems like every chance the Saints got, maybe purposeful, maybe not, they made sure to put the Mike Thomas highlight reels at the front of the papers. Hey, look at what Mike Thomas did. Let's put that out there. So now defenses are aware of this. Hey, this guy can make a one-handed catch. He was great at Ohio State. Let's pay attention. And what do? You get killed on the deep ball by Brandon Cooks, and you get killed on the underneath routes by Willie Snead. It was a masterful game plan attacking the Raiders' defense. The problem was, they were 2 points away from a victory.
Well, let me also say this, since we're on Michael Thomas, and let's give it to all the receivers right now. Every starting receiver between Snead, Cooks, and Thomas caught all of their targets. Willie Snead was 9 for 9. Brandon Cooks was Michael Thomas was 6 for 6. I'm sorry, Brandon Cooks was 6 of 9. So out of 3 wide receivers, and that is 24 targets, you missed 3 of them. That's phenomenal. That's awesome. We haven't had a receiving core that dangerous in almost a decade. So huge props there. Yeah, we fell 2 points short. That I'm also going to give that to the fact of a young defense who's down a couple of young, extremely talented players. And let me also give Bro credit. I mean, I know we're kind of rabbit holing at the moment, but we'll get to the New York game in just a second. But Delvin Bro, wanted to come back into the game, not even knowing he had a broken leg. He's getting trainers to rub his leg and think it's a cramp. That guy wanted to play football on a broken leg. That's the kind of leadership that this team needs. And I think when he returns, we're going to see a different defense. And, the talent level here is just finally higher. We still lack depth, but the talent of the starters, especially if we get Sheldon Richardson back, because we saw the flashes that he can do, this is going to be a different team, hopefully week 8. I really believe that.
I don't doubt that at all. And I think it's a growing process. I think because of his ascension and how quick it was, people forget how bad Delvin Bro was the first 4 to 5 weeks of the season.
Yep.
But once he caught on, he was lights out from that point on. I mean, he went from, looking up at the sky trying to locate the ball versus Tampa to being able to shut down, Julio Jones, who's widely considered as one of the best, if not the best wide receiver.
The best by most.
Yeah, by most. In football, and Delvin Bro shut him down. So, you go from that big of a jump. And that's why I say I hope the same can happen for P.J. Williams, because now he's that guy. He's Delvin Bro now. So it's on P.J. to kind of step his game up and be that. And you can tell, when people always ask me, I had the privilege of being able to be at the OTAs and the mini camps and stuff like that the year Delvin Bro and P.J. Williams came in. As well as Damian Swan. These guys were all, they were all fighting for position. And at one point, it was thought that Delvin Bro would be the slot back because you had Keenan on one side, Brandon Browner, and Delvin Bro was going to be a slot. Well, the more and more you saw Bro make plays, the more you kind of knew this guy's kind of special. He's a little bit different. Yeah. He may just challenge for a starting job. Well, the one guy that was not talked about very much was P.J. Williams because he got hurt fairly early. But the one thing you could see absolutely that was there, P.J. Williams has closing speed, and for a corner, you definitely need that. And that's what I saw in this game. I mean, throughout the preseason, you could see he was right there. He just couldn't get his head turned around. Okay, so now you turn your head around, you're making a play. Now he had his first taste of the live bullets, if you will. P.J. Williams is going to get better because he played well against Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree. I can't wait to see what he does when it's week 7, week 8 in the season. He should be lights out.
Well, yeah, and keep in mind, he's also playing against 2 receivers, as you just mentioned, who, for all accounts, I mean, they're faster, they're bigger, they're stronger. and they did have some success on him, but I'm going to be like you and credit that to be this is his first professional NFL speed real game.